And welcome in, everybody, to another edition of the Inside Edge Network presents Thursday Topics. I am one of your hosts, Eli Moon. To my right, to your left, is Chad Bryan. And Chad, we're back again. They just can't get rid of us, man. How are you doing?
Yeah, we're like cockroaches after the. Well, no, I don't want to say that. I shouldn't say that. No, I mean I was going to say like cockroaches after the Armageddon or whatever. But no, yeah, it's tough to get rid of us. We are back. It's good to be back, man. I love
Yes.
the Thursday night late night feel. I'm in for this, man. How are you doing? How's your week, bud?
I am doing great, man. I appreciate you asking. The weather, not so great. I'm like real so like I'm a summer baby and
Yeah.
like being in this weather it's been tough, but it's been all right, I mean we've been thriving and you know what, at the end of the day, we're almost into February, we're about, closer than we were. So winter's going to eventually end. So I feel good.
Is it?
Um
Are you sure? Is it?
that's what they keep telling me, Chad. That's what they keep telling me.
Is it?
Yeah, but I'll tell you this. I'm glad to hear you're doing well. It's been a busy week for you, and I'm glad I'm doing well. I'll tell you, a lot of NFL teams are doing well too, and I think that's where we'll start here today. A lot of stuff to break down. Why don't we start in the AFC North? Not Cleveland Browns news, but news out of the AFC North. Uh, if you are just hearing, per ESPN's Adam Schefter, the Baltimore Ravens have hired Jesse Minter as their new head coach. Both sides agree to a 5-year deal. Chad, this is obviously big news for the Baltimore Ravens.
Yeah.
For those that don't know, Jesse Minter, it was the defensive coordinator, he was the defensive coordinator for the Los Angeles Chargers. I'm a Michigan man, whatever that means anymore. But a guy that obviously like helped kind of make that Chargers defense a little bit more tough nosed and had some success with Harbaugh. Obviously, the ties to Michigan. That's why he was, I'd imagine, with Harbaugh. But now he is the man in Baltimore, replacing Jim Harbaugh's brother, John Harbaugh, in Baltimore. So 5-year deal. Both sides have agreed per ESPN's Adam Schefter. What are your thoughts here? First things first on the Baltimore Ravens. Did they get the right guy?
They got a guy. I mean, that's better than we're doing right now. So I don't
Yeah.
know. I mean, it's always hard to forecast these things. My initial thought, I'll be really honest with you. When I saw the announcement, I said he's not going to make it 5 years. Um, I just don't know, but I could be totally wrong. I could be wrong. I think there's a familiarity factor, right? John Harbaugh leaves, and you're the Ravens, and you're looking for what a similar personality, a guy with similar connections, a guy with maybe familiar connections. So I mean, I don't know how much you work together in a situation like I don't think they worked together with John Harbaugh after they fired him. But you just wonder how much Jim Harbaugh and John Harbaugh had to do with Jesse Minter getting hired here. You wonder a little bit, how Jim Harbaugh felt about Jesse Minter leaving. It's like a weird, are these, brothers fight, man. Are they fighting over him? Like, I don't know. It's weird. So it feels weird. It just feels like a weird hire, other than the fact that he's just kind of I guess his reputation at Michigan is, well, okay. Well, I mean, it took a little bit of a hit with the Connor Stallion situation. Okay, let's be honest. That seemed to matter to Michigan fans. They don't care. That's fine. That's okay. You're proud of your guy. That's fine. Roll with your guy. I have no problem with that. But he's a kind of a hard nosed, obviously defensive minded guy. He's a defensive coordinator out in LA. So of course he's a defensive minded guy. And that's what you had in John Harbaugh. Similar personality, similar approach to the game, similar philosophy, similar perspective on football. So something you said before we went live here was like, I'm worried a little bit. I'm worried that there's not going to be much drop off with the Ravens, right? This has been their philosophy since they've been a football team. I mean, since just a couple of years after they were the Cleveland Browns, right? They became Baltimore Ravens, and they were this hard-nosed, defensive, knock you out in the trenches first kind of a team. And here we are again. It's the same philosophy. It's the same type of personality. But now Minter's the head coach instead of Harbaugh, whatever. I don't know. I'm not sure how to feel about this. I guess I'm back and forth. It's a similar style for them, so it could work. But I just feel like something tells me that Jesse Minter's just not an NFL head coach. And I could be totally wrong. Listen, I've been wrong about plenty of things. We'll get to something later. I am going to issue a public apology to someone that we're going to talk about on the show today, so don't miss that. That'll be fun. Um, yeah, I've been wrong before. It happens. I mean, once or twice in my life. You can ask my wife. I just don't know how I feel. I guess time will tell, right?
Yeah. Yeah, time will definitely tell. And, you bring up a lot of good points, Chad. And, also with Jesse Minter, right? Yeah, first head coaching opportunity from the Jim Harbaugh coaching tree. But, yeah, replacing his brother. And, yeah, how much really went into that. And another thing to mention here, too, is, this game on the same day, right? January 22nd, there was reports earlier in the afternoon from Cleveland.com and Mary Kay Cabot that the Browns and Jesse Minter had mutually agreed to on Wednesday night that they weren't going to do a second interview. They had canceled it mutually because Jesse Minter felt he was in position to get a NFL head coaching gig a lot quicker and was more certain about it. And I guess he was pretty right. I mean, he bet on himself, and Baltimore made him their guy. And I at the end of the day, you know what you get with Lamar Jackson. You know what you get with the offense for the most part. It's Lamar, it's Derrick Henry still until the tread is completely off the tires on Derrick Henry. And they at least have something with Zay Flowers, and Mark Andrews. And likely he's really good. So they have some sort of an offense rocking still. I mean, they got to retool, but that's part of the game. Defensively, they were a mess. They were a mess last year for most of the year. And this is obviously, like you said, a Baltimore Ravens hire. This is true what they would do. Oh, the defense was terrible. We need a rehaul or an overhaul, a switch up, whatever, a reset. We're going to bring in a defensive guy. We're going to get our defense sound, because if the defense can only give up, 14, 17 points a game, we're going to be in a lot more games with Lamar Jackson at quarterback, regardless of who the coach is. I trust Lamar Jackson to still be Lamar Jackson.
Yeah. Yeah, you would think the hamstring is going to be all healed up. I mean, he'll have some time. An injury like that takes time. There was a reason that he was, I think, hesitant to take off out of the pocket. Hamstring injuries linger, calves and hamstrings. And when you talk about the quick twitch muscles like that, you could take off and all of a sudden you pull this thing and you're out another 4 weeks. That's terrifying as an athlete, especially as a quarterback. So I'm sure that limited Lamar a little bit, just after he came back, he didn't look quite the same. But a hamstring injury will do that to you. So just, time and rehab in the offseason, I'm sure he'll be fine. I'm sure the offense will look more, who knows what Derrick Henry's going to do, though. He had a weird season. The first half of the season was garbage for Derrick Henry, right? All the fumbles and like the, 2.1 yards per carry, whatever. He had these weird games, and then he picked it up at the second half of the season. So which Derrick Henry do you get? Which Lamar Jackson do you get? A lot of questions on the offensive side of the ball, questions on the defensive side of the ball. I think they had more questions on defense, so you go with a guy like Jesse Minter to help answer some of those.
Yeah, and this is a defense too. They had Matthew Judon here, and they'd moved on from him in the last 2-3 years, moved on from Judon and just all these guys. I mean, we talked about it on earlier episodes and across this network. I remember the Ravens with Ray Lewis, Terrell Suggs, Ed Reed. Just striking fear into other, offenses. And I think they may get back to that. We'll see.
You didn't go over the middle at any level of that defense. I mean,
no, you couldn't. And then you had Haloti Ngata up front. I mean, they were just a fierce. They were a force to be reckoned with, and they may get back to that. I hate making it, what does this mean for like the Browns? But obviously the Browns with some big news in this, because Minter and the Browns mutually agree that they're going to cancel the interview Wednesday night, the in-person interview. And that's kind of a big deal, because it's not only the first time this week alone that the Browns have had a head coach candidate not refuse, but more so say, I'm good. I have an opportunity elsewhere. And that's crazy. Jesse Minter, the second one, taking the Baltimore Ravens head coaching gig. The first one that come this week, and we'll kind of pivot there, Chad, and kind of just ask what happens with the Browns, is per ESPN's Adam Schefter and Jeff Darlington, the Los Angeles Chargers hire Mike McDaniel as their new offensive coordinator. It was earlier this week. Like I said, per Schefter and Darlington. Yeah, Chad. This is after Mike McDaniel basically told the Browns, "I'm good. Like, thank you, but I don't need to go in person and have a conversation with you. It don't make sense." And he goes, and we're just talking about one Harbaugh and losing his defensive coordinator. Well, early in the week, he gained his offensive coordinator, a former head coach, and Mike McDaniel spent a good time with the Miami Dolphins reshaping their offense for some time. And now he's going to get a chance in Los Angeles, another nice weather city for Mike McDaniel, and see what he can do. I want to ask you this first before we dive into McDaniel and the actual hire itself. Is this troublesome if you're a Cleveland Browns fan right now that you've had two potential candidates that when the Browns, reports, these are all reports, various reports, but you're seeing that Minter and McDaniel are like within the top 5, like that they would like to hire out of the remaining candidates. And neither one of them wanted to come sit with you in Berea because they feel like they have a better opportunity elsewhere.
Well, it's troublesome for a couple of different reasons. I mean, now the Browns are going to scramble to try to satisfy the Rooney Rule, right? Because you didn't get the in-person interview with Mike McDaniel. So that's out. You've got – now, it does a weird thing. It makes you wonder, too, and this is a joke, by the way, is Jim Harbaugh sabotaging the Cleveland Browns? Is he in some way – he sent Jesse Minter over to Baltimore, says don't even go to Berea. Just go right to Baltimore, take the job. But it's troubling because Mike McDaniel backed out of the head coach consideration to go take an offensive coordinator position somewhere, right? That should be a red flag to you if you're involved with the Browns organization, if you're a Browns fan. That hurts a lot more than Jesse Minter passing him over to go be the head coach for the Ravens, right? That stinks because it's a division rival, and that's got its own whatever. That's got its own caveat and its own kind of field kind of story. But the fact that your head coach target has backed out to go be an offensive coordinator. I don't think I want to be in charge of your organization. I'll go be, second or third in charge somewhere else. I think that's troubling. I think that, and like I said, now they're going to be scrambling to satisfy the Rooney Rule. They don't have anything lined up until, I don't know, a couple of weeks now after a week or so, a few days anyway, and that's if the Rams lose. I don't know. I just don't know. The Browns are all of a sudden kind of in a mess with this thing, aren't they?
They sure are in a mess, Chad. And I think it definitely should be sounding the alarms in Berea. Okay, the first one, Mike McDaniel, maybe you just want to get your feet back under you. You want to go to an offense that has a lot of potential. Herbert, Quentin Johnson looked good. Last year receiver, Ladd McConkey, Keenan Allen. You got options. Aronde Gadsden at tight end. And like I said, Justin Herbert, funny enough, him and Tua 1 pick apart in the same draft class. Mike McDaniel's going to go from Tua to Justin Herbert, which is crazy
for these two. That's kind of weird, right?
Yeah, it's like, we'll see. But I think it's, that alone, I can be like, okay, if that was the only instant, I can understand for a moment that, you just want to work under an experienced coach with a good offense. So you are the top guy unquestioned next coaching carousel.
Sure.
Okay. Jesse Minter, however, first year head coach, wherever he goes, he is a defensive guy. Arguably the best defense in the NFL, in my opinion, at least top 5, is in Cleveland. Yeah. And you didn't even want to come into Berea and say, well, let me see. Can I meet with Miles and shake his hand and have a conversation? Can I say what's up to Denzel Ward in the defense? Can I meet Shedeur Sanders?
Right.
And none of that happened. They never even got to a hello, how are you? Crazy weather we have in Cleveland, right? Didn't even get there. We got to 2 cancellations, immediate hires within like the same 24, 48 hour time frame.
Yep.
That's not good. I know the Browns have a second interview lined up, I believe, later this week. It appeared it was going to be earlier this week, but I think they moved it to later this week. Now I was reading reports with Udinski. So Grant Udinski, they're going to continue to have conversations with the Jaguars offensive coordinator, who I'm a big fan of personally. Okay. I think, I'm also like a fan of making history, and he'd be the youngest NFL head coach.
Okay.
And I mean, what's the worst thing that happens?
He has not called plays at all in the NFL.
It doesn't, because I still think he's involved with the quarterback progression, and I think Trevor Lawrence has had his best year as a pro, and I don't think it's any. Yeah, and I don't think it's any shock that it's under Udinski, at least in my opinion. But, I just feel like in this coaching hire, we all got to pick somebody eventually and just be like, this is our guy and this is why. And, I won't be mad if it's Jim Schwartz, whoever else. Some other options, maybe I'll be a little bit frustrated. But as far as Udinski, I think he is like a home run pick out of what's left right now. And I thought that even before Minter was off the board, because I had Udinski higher. I even had Udinski higher than Mike McDaniel. So My opinion, it's you got Yadinsky, but now you got Nate Scheelhaus. Scheelhaus, I got it. If he becomes a Browns head coach, we really got to work on like Scheelhaus.
Right.
But he
Lassie?
obviously, yeah, and he's obviously involved with the Rams offense, right? And the big thing with him is they're still playing football. We'll talk about them, here at the end of the show. We're saving that for them. We got a lot to talk about: NBA, MLB, college football. We're gonna save our predictions for the end of the show. We'll come back to the NFL. We'll open and we'll end. But with that being said, yes, the Rams are still playing football. Scheelhaus, he just can't really do interviews until this is done this week, because they do get that week in between the Super Bowl where I believe he can field interviews at that point. But it's like, okay, then if Grant Yadinsky goes and has an interview with Buffalo and Buffalo says, hey, Josh Allen's here. We saw how you brought the vibes up. If that's at the very least, you brought the vibes up with Trevor Lawrence.
Yep.
We need Josh Allen's a sad guy right now. We need him to be happier, and we need to win a Super Bowl. We might be sitting in a situation where it's really Nate Scheelhaus or nothing for the Browns in terms of like best candidate, because Yadinsky might be off the board. Jim Schwartz at some point I think is going to start feeling like, well, do you want me bad enough, or should I really just take one of these other gigs? Now, the problem with that is these other gigs are closing, right? So, they're being filled up. And that's the other thing, Chad. Just to pivot to the Browns here, or excuse me, away from the Browns, because we could talk all day about them. We'll come back to the hire itself. Mike McDaniel, new offensive coordinator in Los Angeles. How do you feel about this move? Put yourself in the mind of a Chargers fan for a second. Do you feel like this is a lateral move, or do you think this is something that can help them get past a first-round playoff exit?
Well, I mean, I think, listen, you got to look at what he did in Miami, right? Miami with, limited talent on the offensive side of the ball, Tua was always injured, right? So he had to work with a quarterback that was in and out with concussion issues. And listen, even when Tua was on the field, he wasn't great a lot, right? Nothing against – I like Tua Tagovailoa, just, not a great NFL quarterback. Probably a starter at the end of the day, but really when we talk about great quarterbacks in the league, whether it's top 5, top 10, it's okay to be in the top 32, right? There's no shame in that. I just, he's not a top 10, not a top 15 guy, not a guy you think of that can go really win you a game, okay?
Right.
But – that being said, and I can't even think of really like, just headliners are escaping me right now for the Dolphins, but they always had a top 12 offense there. Regardless of what they looked like on paper, the injuries, the in and out, the shuffling it for 4 years there, Mike McDaniel had a top 12 offense. So we talked about how, intriguing that would be to add to the Browns mix with the defense the way it is. You've got a top 5 defense in the league, you had a top 12 offense. It's probably 10, 11, 12 wins, right? You're safe. That's off the board now. But yeah, if you're a Chargers fan, I think you're excited because I think, Jim Harbaugh is a run first kind of a guy. Mike McDaniel was really creative with the run game. I think that's great. I mean, Chargers fans would have to be excited about that. I'm sure that there are a lot of things just schematically that Jim Harbaugh and Mike McDaniel agree on. Personality wise, Eli, it feels like a weird fit, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, they both wear sunglasses at times on the field. I mean, they're both khaki guys, it appears.
Do we have any confirmation? Have we ever seen Mike McDaniel pick a booger and eat it? Have we ever seen him do that?
I don't think so. But
because we've got video evidence of Jim Harbaugh does like the occasional in-game snack. We know that.
You're right, though. It is such a weird mix, Harbaugh and McDaniels. One's so intense with Harbaugh, and he can play I'm just joking around. It don't matter. When you see him on the field, he is intense. And then Mike McDaniel is just looking like, like he's just trying to have a good time and vibe out. Like, where's the vibes at? And,
right.
I mean, the vibes might not be there if, we're talking about an LA team that gets off to a slow start offensively here, this fall. But they have a whole offseason to prepare for it now. They got their offensive coordinator quickly. They'll have a whole draft, process to be able to really talk to McDaniel and see, hey, who do you think we should bring in offensively? Or, if he feels the offense he can work with, hey, focus on defense, But Chargers have a lot of opportunity to grow. It doesn't matter. It's always the question with the Chargers. Are they going to get that next step, or are they kind of just going to be stuck in the mud? And we'll see. We'll see.
They're not stuck in the worst mud, though. I mean, I'm telling you, 10, 11 wins is not the worst kind of mud to be stuck in. Trust me.
It's not, but it's also like the conversation. Like I think I had it on Main Event with Double A and Rob Ruzicki, and I was talking with them, and we actually were talking about Sean McDermott before he was fired as the Buffalo Bills head coach,
Yep.
and we're talking, and it eventually got to the point where I get Marvin Lewis didn't win playoff games in Cincinnati, but it started to feel like in Buffalo, it was kind of like the Marvin Lewis effect where you're only going to get so far, how the story ends, and that's it. And I think that's what it is with some of these teams too, you got to be aware of when it's time to reset, when you met your mark, your mark, and when you can actually grow. And the Chargers right now are in a spot where Jim Harbaugh's only been there a few years, so they're not obviously evaluating head coach. So what's the next thing you do? You look at why your young quarterback can't get to the second round of the playoffs.
Yeah, that's fair. And Herbert showed flashes. I mean, the regular season, there were times where I thought this guy's the MVP. I mean, my goodness, look at him, like ball in a bucket on a dime, like it's just whatever. And then he would have a couple of games where he went away. So yeah, you hope maybe you gain some consistency there. And like I said, I mean, McDaniel did wonders with Tua in Miami in that offense. So you've got to be kind of excited if you're a Chargers fan. If you can work with Tua and get a top 12 offense out of that group, I mean, you should be able to do some things in LA with the Chargers.
Absolutely. Now, Miami, we just talked about Mike McDaniel. Over in Miami, they have some news too. Per ESPN's Adam Schefter, he had the scoop. The Miami Dolphins hired Jeff Hafley, the former Green Bay Packers defensive coordinator, and they are making him the new head coach of the Miami Dolphins. Chad, when it comes to this one, it just seems like the Dolphins are trying to become the Green Bay Packers light, like the off-brand version of what the Packers built. You hear the conversation earlier, this week, just discussions about the quarterback position, of they're going to follow their philosophy of drafting a quarterback every other year, which, well, I mean, I don't know if it really worked all the way for the Packers. It worked for Favre, the Rodgers. Rodgers' love, still a little messy. But Jeff Hafley, apparently the guy, in a Miami Dolphins team that struggled mightily on defense for most of the year, and offensively have a lot of questions. Who is your quarterback? Is it Tua Tagovailoa? We just talked about him. Are they going to look in the draft? Are they going to look Malik Willis maybe?
Yep.
You got that. Yeah, Jalen Waddle, and then is Tyreek Hill coming back? Or it seems like if you follow him on social media, and just see some of his antics, he seems to be wanting a reunion with Kansas City. And so if you're Miami, you got a lot of questions, right? The only for sure thing is you have a really fast running back, Devon Achane, and he's not going anywhere, at least right now.
Yeah.
But Miami, out of all these teams we've talked about thus far, I feel like going into it, it may be a worse job to go to than Cleveland. The only thing you can say is if you're 3-14, at least it's sunny. But it's not a better, in my opinion, it is not a better job than the Cleveland Browns. The only way I could see it is just because of the cap space. That is something that the Browns are going to have to wear this season. Unfortunately, they're going to have to keep wearing it until it's off the books. Is the Deshaun Watson trade, they inked Myles Garrett, which was a great move, but they inked Myles Garrett. They've inked Alex Wright. They've inked these guys to the contracts to where that is unattractive to a lot of these coaches.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what led Hafley and maybe leading to some of these other guys to other spots. Is it really the cap space issue, or why Jeff Hafley to Miami? And does it make sense?
I don't know. I mean, he's a defensive-minded guy. I'm not sure if it's the cap space issue with the Browns, because they can do they can restructure Deshaun Watson's contract, which he's shown that he's willing to do. They can restructure Denzel Ward's contract to get a little extra cap space. They can do those things. And listen, Andrew Berry's shown that he's more than capable of being creative and making some money work. He's also shown that he's less than capable of making a good NFL trade. Deshaun Watson, that was terrible. So listen, I was going to make a joke and say, well, at least they fired the guy that strapped him with that financial situation, but no, he's still there. I don't know. I guess, I don't know. It feels like the Dolphins are just picking a guy, right? They're just like, hey, everybody's getting a coach. We'll just Hafley. I don't know. He's listen. He's a former Buckeyes defensive coordinator. I paid attention then. I sort of lost track of him through his time in the NFL after that. I'll be honest with you. I don't know. It just feels like the Dolphins sort of grabbed a guy. It's like, well, we've got this top 12 offense. Was that because of Mike McDaniel or because of the personnel? We'll find out soon. So listen, with the top 12, top 15 offense, all we need is a better defense, right? So get Jeff Hafley in here. The Packers know what they're doing. They can play some defense. But the problem is he can't bring Micah Parsons with him. He can't bring, it's just, what do you really have on that roster defensively if you're the Dolphins? What does Hafley have with? And I don't know. I guess time will tell. This one, honestly, was a little more puzzling to me than Jesse Minter to the Ravens, because at least Minter's the right philosophy. He's the right personality. He's the right kind of, he was the right kind of guy for that job. I was just surprised it was Minter. With Hafley, it kind of came completely out of left field for me. I don't know. We'll see.
Would you, maybe it's too early to tell, would you call it a downgrade from Mike McDaniel for the Dolphins?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, Mike McDaniel seemed lost a lot of the season last year. He had this, like, his first couple of years in Miami, it looked like they were turning things around. Like, they looked like they could be, possibly a team that got deep into the playoffs, maybe AFC Championship, whatever. They looked good. He was turning the offense around. His press conferences were fun. Last year, the press conferences weren't even fun, right? Like, it looked like he was miserable there. So is that, because of external pressure? Is that he's starting to get his job threatened? Is he felt like he was on the hot seat? He was being told he was on the hot seat. Or was he just, I don't know, was he one of those guys that, sometimes you go into a brand new job and you're excited for the first couple of months or couple of years, whatever, and then you burn out suddenly, right? And things aren't fun anymore. And that's kind of what Mike McDaniel looked like. So I don't know. It was such a bizarre, like the optics were so strange. And then the Dolphins played so well down the stretch that I thought, well, they did enough to, I mean, my God, they saved his job, right? He's going to stay there. And then they fired him. So I don't know. It's a mess to me. The Dolphins are just a weird situation to me that I can't quite put my finger on right now.
They are a weird situation. And, you talk about defensive guys, Chad. We'll pivot here to our last hiring news throughout the week. And that is going to take us over to Tennessee as Adam Schefter, one more time, ESPN's Adam Schefter, Tennessee Titans hire Robert Saleh as their new head coach. Yeah. Makes me think Hafley's on the market. Jim Schwartz is somewhat available. Just kind of confusing on that one. Minter was available until earlier today.
Yeah.
Robert Saleh at one point was touted as touted as the defensive guy. Like, came from the Niners, was just wreaking havoc. He goes to the Jets, and like most things that most people that go to the Jets, it doesn't turn out very well.
Yeah, but they get the havoc wreaked on them. Yeah, it's yeah.
In fairness, most things, and this isn't a dig at Jets fans because hopefully they can figure it out. But everything that leaves New York, typically the Jets, that is, at least has somewhat of an ending that is salvageable. Aaron Rodgers, will keep an eye on if he's going to come back for the Pittsburgh Steelers or whoever.
Yeah.
But he went to the Jets, gets hurt, doesn't look the same. Everything's just over. Well, granted they lost in the first round, but Pittsburgh got to the playoffs. They literally won their division because of the offensive side of the football led by Aaron Rodgers, and the defense was cool at times too. But you look at that. When I think of this, when I think of like Robert Saleh, just to swing it back here, because this is a former New York Jet as well. There's a ton of other comparisons, but we won't go down that rabbit hole. Is this redemption for Robert Saleh, or could this be the wrong spot to try for redemption? You got Cam Ward, second-year quarterback, who was on record at one point after a game saying that the Tennessee Titans were ass. I mean, this is a team that they do have opportunities to improve the roster. I'd have to look exactly where they rank in terms of cap space, but they are not strapped like the Browns in terms of cap space. So they will have opportunities there. You have some young guys on the defense that maybe intrigued Saleh as like cornerstones, but when I think of second chance redemption stories as a head coach, respectfully, I don't think of the Tennessee Titans in a year where you're still trying to figure out if you have your franchise quarterback.
Yeah. Yeah. I guess if you're Robert Saleh, it's how you look at it, right? Do you go into a situation that has a ton of high expectations in Tennessee? Nope. Are you have a great chance to build something from almost literally the ground up. They were terrible, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know. In one way, it's like if he fails, you've got that to fall back on. Well, when I went there, they had nothing to work with. I mean, what could I do? But then also you take the chance of tarnishing your legacy. And I don't know, maybe this is his last run. I have no idea. Like I said, you usually don't get like a third chance to be a head coach in the NFL if things don't go well in your first two stops. It didn't really go that well in New York. We know that. If it doesn't go well in Tennessee, is he a lifetime defensive coordinator, or does he just hang it up? Does he, I don't know. I can't expect that any Titans fans or anyone around the league would expect Robert Saleh to go in there and turn them around to the point where they look like the Niners from a few years ago, and they're going 13-4 and going to the Super Bowl. I don't think anybody expects that. So again, like I said, the expectations are low. Maybe that's a good thing. You're kind of weirdly out of. I mean, you've got local press, but you're not really in the national. You're not like coaching in New York, right? You're not in the national media. So maybe it's just kind of an under the radar kind of a place where he can go just try to get his hands dirty and rebuild that franchise from the ground up. And you see what you've got in Cam Ward, you see what you've got in a couple other guys, and you roll with it. And you, what was it, a 5-year deal? Did they say?
For Saleh, let me confirm.
By the way,
here.
I should think about making a career out of this. He's got all the breaking news. I don't know who that guy is.
You are correct. 5-year contract with the Tennessee Titans. So
does he get the whole 5 years? I mean, is it one of those situations where it's like, hey, if we're not making progress in 3 years, we'll pay you millions of dollars to go sit at home or to go be somebody else's defensive coordinator. In that regard, it's kind of the win-win too. I mean, you look at there's not much of a better life than being a football coach, right? You've got guys out there getting paid for 2 or 3 old jobs still that are working. So that's cool. But I mean, it's all about perspective. It's all about how Saleh is looking at it. It's all about, it's about how the Titans look at Saleh and what the expectations are and how those things match and mesh. And obviously something happened in the interview, or they must have been on the same page, right?
Yeah. I mean, and Saleh, 46 years old, a little bit younger than Jim Schwartz, but you mentioned, it is tough once you mess up your first gig as a head coaching job for whatever reason. And sometimes the first year, first gig you get isn't always pretty because you're just trying to get elevation as a coach and get to that head coaching status. Yeah. But like you said, Chad, you get to that second time and you don't look good. Jim Schwartz is kind of showing you, you can have one rough time and it's remembered by a lot of NFL franchise, a lot of these owners that are longtime owners. It's remembered. And, to your point, this could be it for Saleh in terms of like a head coaching gig. I will say this, though. The last defensive guy to go to Tennessee did pretty well as a head coach. That was Mike Vrabel.
Why did they let him out? Why in the world did they want him out of there?
Maybe just too much accountability in Tennessee. I don't know. New England seems to like the accountability. They're playing for the AFC crown this week.
Yeah, they're not doing bad, right?
Yeah, crazy.
By the way, I'll say it again. And I know both sides have to agree to the deal and both sides have to be interested, but the Browns had him right in the building last year. He was right there in Berea. There he was.
I know. Well, that's, you know what, Chad, we could probably spend a whole Thursday topic, and the topic could be the Cleveland Browns and what we could have done. Yeah. But with that being said, that is our recap of the NFL hirings. Obviously, we talked a little bit about McDermott and the Bills. Do want to notice, obviously, if you've been following the Inside Edge Network, we talked about it all week. Chad and TK, the guys have discussed it. Everybody's discussed it here across the network. We'll talk about it, I'm sure, a little bit on Main Event, but Sean McDermott out as the Buffalo Bills head coach. Just crazy. I mean, I think there's been so much said on that, Chad. I know we talked about it a lot on Main Event very strongly as well, but I mean, it just seems like somebody's going to get a good opportunity to coach Josh Allen, and I think the Bills just got sick of being in the same spot. Now, ownership and Terry Pegula has been saying some crazy things, like calling out Keon Coleman and saying it was a coaching move, but Brandon Beane defends it and said it was my pick to take, Keon Coleman, draft him. And so it does seem a little messy in Buffalo, even after the McDermott stuff. Do you trust that the Bills will get this right? I guess is my question.
Well, they're up against it too, time-wise now. I mean, these guys, the main guys, or the dominoes are falling into place pretty quickly. And unless they have somebody that they have their eye on that we just, maybe we don't know about or whatever, it feels like they're losing their opportunity, and they're dare I say browsing it a little bit, right? They're kind of behind the 8 ball now. I mean, when you play further into the season and you fire a coach that late after the into the playoffs or whatever, not after the playoffs because they're still going But when you fire a coach that late in the season, in the postseason, I think it does put you behind the 8 ball a little bit. But I mean, I don't know. Buffalo feels like they're like the lovable losers, right? They're like America's team light. You kind of you have no choice. You look at they're getting buried by 6 feet of snow up there. I mean, whole sides of the town, businesses are closed, whatever. You feel for them a little bit because they're like this blue collar town, and they don't. It doesn't feel like a big city at all. You know what I mean? So it feels like your typical like Rust Belt, like tough American town football team is whatever. The Bills Mafia. It's a lot of fun, right? The
Yeah.
4 Super Bowl losses or whatever, and everything about the Bills makes you want to root for them. But now you've got this dissension, in the front office between whatever. Listen, they can have this. That's a Browns mess. They can have that. It's so bizarre to not see the Browns be the team with the public mess, right? And the Browns, for what it's worth, they probably have an internal private mess, but it's not being made public. So for once, it's on us. It's kind of cool to see. I don't know if I trust them to get it right, just because like I said, the dominoes are falling. I mean, I would imagine they would have had some interest in a guy like Jesse Minter, but then you probably want to bring an offensive-minded guy in to work with Josh Allen. Who's left? I mean, Clint Kubiak. Are they going to look at? Are they going to look at Shield? I don't know. I mean, it seems like some of these other teams may have their pick, whereas the Browns are going to have to do something. Now, first we wanted the Browns to take their time, right? But now they're up against it. So they have to satisfy the parameters of the Rooney Rule. So they're behind on that now. Unless they're going to have time to lose the rights to whatever. I don't know. I don't know if I trust the Bills or not. I guess that was a really long answer for me to say I don't.
You're good. No, I mean, it's fair though. I mean, typically the Bills haven't given you any reason to be worried as far as this. The only thing is just they can't get past Patrick Mahomes, and now they can't get past other guys and Bo Nix, and well wishes out to Bo Nix on a whole different side of things. Obviously, after that game dealing with broken bone in his ankle, out for the rest of the season. So we'll talk about Jared Stidham and the Broncos and the Patriots coming up later on in the show. We'll also talk about Rams and Seahawks, and we'll talk about who gets to go to the big game in the NFL a little bit later. I just feel for Josh Allen. I felt for all the Bills players, just emotional after the game. It's like, and for somebody who like I'm an empath and I thrive off like community and like feeling for others and like just I don't know, man. I felt it. It just I could feel how much they love that guy, and like even Brandon Cooks, who hasn't even been there all year, and he's like, I just wish I could have did more for Josh Allen. It's like,
man,
I hope he gets one.
Josh Allen at all, by the way.
Yeah,
not good to Josh Allen. It is what it is. Thanks.
I just hope he gets one, and everybody's like, well, there's no way he doesn't end his career without one. And I'll say, just be careful, because Dan Marino thought he was getting back to the Super Bowl.
That's the cautionary tale, right? Like, I mean, Clayton and Duper and Marino, and it was like, man, that offense is too bad. They'll be back. They'll go to the Super Bowl 4 or 5 times. They'll win one, and then never went back. That's crazy.
And this is the first head coach switch in a long time for Josh Allen, so it's gonna be interesting to see how he adjusts. So got that going on. That is our head coach, NFL head coach hiring, firing, recap, reactions. A lot going on there. So thanks for sticking with us there. Thanks for all tuning in so far on the Inside Edge Network. Before we kick it to break, Chad, there was a college football game on Monday, and it was a pretty big game. Yeah, I mean, so you typically, when I think of the college football playoffs and the national championship, you think of all these teams that have been there before. You think of the Ohio States, the Alabamas, and the Georgias, and all these teams. However, it was our guys. I don't know if there are guys, but I like Curt Cignetti and I like Fernando Mendoza, and college football playoff national championship saw the Indiana Hoosiers defeat the Miami Hurricanes 27-21.
Hey.
I mean, I don't have anything crazy break down the X's and O's. Just talk to me about the game, because I feel like all year round or all year long, this is for college football. There's been discussions. I think we've had them across all of our shows here on the Inside Edge Network. Does the college football season matter? Are you excited about it? Who cares if a top 10 team plays right now, because they're going to play again for real, in January. So, I mean, for you, did you get a chance to watch a majority of the game? Did you enjoy the game if you did? Talk to me about it.
I did. I enjoyed it. I think my biggest takeaway, and I told you a little bit earlier in the show, I alluded to the fact that I would be issuing a public apology to someone. That someone is Curt Cignetti. I made a joke about his Google me comment from a year ago or a couple years ago when he first got hired at Indiana. Whatever. I had a little fun with it after they got beat by Ohio State. I will say this now. Kurt Signetti, if you're watching, I know he's a loyal. He tunes in every Thursday night for Thursday Topics. I know he's sitting. I know he's having a beer right now, probably with Fernando Mendoza, maybe Alberto Mendoza before he transfers out of there too. They're watching Thursday Topics, and I'm going to tell you this, Kurt Signetti. My name's Chad Bryan. I say dumb things. Google me, because man, look, okay, a lot of numbers don't pop off. That you look at the stats from Indiana, nothing really pops out, right? Like. I think Mendoza ended up with negative rushing yards, but he had that rushing touchdown that was pretty amazing. I threw for like 186 yards, didn't throw a touchdown pass, but he also didn't throw an interception, whatever, kind of managed to get, he's a game manager, right? Whatever. What does pop out to me is the 16-0. Eli, listen, 16-0. First team to go 16-0 since Yale back in 1884, 1894? I don't even know. I was only like 10 years old then, so I can't remember. But I just it's amazing what they did. I mean, 2 years ago, this team went 3-9. They were 1-8 in the Big Ten.
Yeah.
They were all. I mean, they were just. You don't even think of Indiana, right? When you think of Big Ten football, you don't. It's not even in the back of your mind. It's not. They weren't even as advanced as a program as I don't know, like Purdue. It feels like even Rutgers had more recent success than Indiana, right? These teams that you think of like being the bottom feeders of the Big Ten. They were it. The Northwesterns, like they were down there with those teams. And now they're 16-0. They're national champions. They beat the U. Man, what a cool story. And Paul Feinbaum, I know he looked like the words looked painful coming out of his mouth. We finally gave the Big Ten and Indiana some credit, and Kurt Signetti a little bit of credit. But what a cool story, man. It was just a great game. I just thought I was watching all year. I watched Indiana as much as I could. Obviously watched Ohio State more, but I thought, man, Fernando Mendoza isn't doing anything that Julian Sayin isn't or can't do, or isn't doing or can't until that touchdown run. Because I made the joke in a text. I texted TK. I said, listen, if Julian Sayin tried that, he'd be Julian laying on the field broke, right? Like that's not in his repertoire. That run is not going to happen from Julian Sayin. That was so gritty to me, and I think it speaks to his character. He's the clear number one pick in the draft, right? Fernando Mendoza.
Yes, 1,000% the clear number one pick. The Raiders seem to have their guy. We'll see how he looked in the NFL, but I mean, there's no questions as who they should take. Based off the tape, based off the year he had. Shout out Fernando Mendoza too. I mean, going over transferring from Cal, he said in his post game interview on the field after they beat Miami that he was a 2-star recruit. Playing not far from Hard Rock Stadium, wanting to be, a member of the Hurricanes. They told him, hey, we're cool on you, even a walk-on opportunity. And now he beats them. Storybook ending for his career. If you're the you probably look at it like, dang, man, and the shot at the end there, you gotta mention that at the end. But overall, like you said, a great game. The run was crazy. 4th and 5 from, your own like 12-yard line. Just crazy by Signetti, because they took forever to decide if they were going to send the field goal unit on. Last minute they send the field goal unit on. They call a timeout. Signetti looks frustrated, and then they send Mendoza out. I'm sitting here watching, Chad, and I go, there is no way this is going to work. This is Miami. Ruben Bain has been getting to Mendoza. This line has been getting to Mendoza. They've been making him feel it enough to where Signetti said at halftime that they felt the officials were letting some things get away. I just think it was physical football at the end of the day. You got to protect your quarterback, but also they got to play physical, and that's how you got to where they got to. But just a crazy run by Mendoza. I saw a joke. I think it was Mike Golick Jr. He said this like something along the lines of this picture, and it's like the still shot of Mendoza diving in with 3 defenders around him. So this picture will be in every grown man in Indiana's basement or man cave for the rest of time. Like that's an iconic photo. So shout out Mike Golick Jr. That's hilarious because it's true. It's true. It's like us with like Rajay Davis. If we would have won the World Series, we'd probably be talking about it even more so. But it's just moments when we talk about star-defining moments for these players. That was a star-defining run, a star-defining moment for Fernando Mendoza to let everybody know, hey, you've doubted all year, Indiana, even to this point. We are in the last few minutes of the football season. Stop bleeping doubting us. because
Right.
we're winning this. And he
Right.
did it. And I think the story of it all too is, not of the main story, but a big story to have too is Carson Beck trying to win his first championship as a starter. 1-2 as a backup to Stetson Bennett at Georgia.
Yeah.
But just a bad interception ends the game. And, I think he was talking to Ray Lewis before he went out there. And I mean, there's no correlation there, but just what a crazy to talk to one of the legends of the U. You're in a position where you could lead a game-winning touchdown drive to bring the U back to relevancy. And
In your home state.
In your home stadium, and you throw a duck essentially.
Yeah.
And just crazy, but crazy. No 5-star recruits.
Just left it short, yeah.
Yeah, no 5-star recruits though, Chad, for Indiana. No 5-star players. I mean, just a team that was pure grit. You see these movies of Rudy, and you see, you watch Coach Carter on the basketball side of like these teams that went out and got it. Remember the Titans, another one on the football side. Just these gritty movies, and they're gonna make a movie. A second part of Hoosiers. But this one is gonna be about the football team, and it just.
They're gonna call that one too because it's
I love it, Chad.
Yeah,
and with that,
amazing.
I love
joke. It. Amazing story. Yeah, just an amazing story. The one thing I do want to mention, there was a little bit of stuff that happened after the game. And for the record, I don't like the extracurricular stuff. I don't want to see a post-game fight or whatever after a national championship game. I think it's a bad look. But for the record, I do want to say I feel like I've been thinking about this a lot this week, and I have more of a problem with what Carson Beck did after the game, running off the field, refusing to shake hands, than what Mark Fletcher Jr. did. I think, listen, they showed Fletcher sitting there waiting for Mendoza to finish an interview so we could, have a quick word with him, gave him a hug, whatever, congratulated him. And then something obviously happened with the Indiana player. Something must have been said. I don't know what it was. I wasn't there. I can't, I can only speculate. But Fletcher reacted the way he did. And it was disappointing to see because, Fletcher was a cool story. His mom driving to all the games. They kept showing her in the stand. I was having so much fun. Like, wow, that's a cool thing, man. You know what I mean? I like that story. But, yeah, it was disappointing to see that end the way that it did. But, like I said, just in having a few days to think about it, I feel like I have more of a problem with what Beck did after the game than what Fletcher did. Fletcher was a moment, but Beck did seem more – I don't know. It's kind of premeditated. Like, I'm out of here. I made the decision to run off the field. Whereas, like Fletcher, that happened in a moment. That wasn't a decision. That was at any time that could have stopped, run back onto the field, congratulated anybody out there. But instead, you ran to the locker room and hid. And I don't respect that very much. I'll be honest with you. I think you stay out there. If you're the quarterback, you're the leader of that team. You lead the team through the end, right? Through the absolute end. I don't care out there like J.J. McCarthy and watch all the confetti fly or whatever after you lose. You do what you got to do, man. You go congratulate guys, and you be a leader. And I think he showed a lot of character, maybe a little bit of a flaw in his character in that move. And maybe Fletcher did too. I don't think it will hurt Fletcher as much as it's going to hurt Beck. I don't know. Just a tough I guess after the game.
I agree. Yeah, Beck, just a poor sportsmanship, poor luck. And for a guy that, is going to be NFL draft bound, whether he wants to or not, that'll be his next step.
Well, he hasn't been in school for 2 years, so.
He let everybody know that he didn't go to class, during the national championship week. But it's like,
do you think there was any? By the way, do you think there was any like compliance people from Miami going, "What? Don't say that. What are you talking about?"
For real, it's like NCAA is a mess in itself. But Beck, his mess is that NFL teams, NFL scouts were in attendance. I'm sure on Monday. And they saw, just the behavior. And it was in the game, too, just like kind of pouting after an incompletion or if the run got blown up. Just body language. Body language is everything, especially in sports, and he was performing very poorly with his body language. And
I bet if you go back and watch Fernando Mendoza in the trenches of losing at Cal, I bet his body language hasn't changed from then to now,
Yeah. And just to highlight before we send it to break here for a quick moment, grab a quick refreshment, and all you out there can grab yours before we come back and talk MLB. Yahoo Sports had a thing, Dan Rohrabaugh, about the Mark Fletcher thing, Chad. And it says a Miami. This is from Rohrabaugh that a Miami football staffer claims the reason Mark Fletcher took a swing at an Indiana player after the national championship game was because of disparaging words against a running back's dead father. So Rumpf said, Mike Rumpf, the Miami's director of recruiting and on-campus experience, commented on the viral video about it, posted by CBS Sports, left an explanation, accusing Tucker of insulting Fletcher's late father. Dude was talking about Mark's dad who passed away last year. Rumpf wrote, Mark is always and will always be one of the most classy people you will meet. R.I.P. Mr. Fletcher.
Yeah.
So,
That's tough, man. Yeah, let's celebrate our win a little bit in a class. Let's be a little classier than that, right?
Yeah, and it's like,
yeah,
right, and we'll I'm sure there'll be more news, news and notes on that alone. But Mark Fletcher, like you said, on the field, tremendous game, 2 touchdowns, really like reignited that offense and made it a fun watch to the end. So, Chad, I think we talked a lot about the NFL. We talked a lot about college football. We talked about football. I think we're going to take a pause. We're going to grab some refreshments. Everybody out there tuning in, thank you. If you're on the East Coast, it is about 11:13 at night. If it is West Coast, you're at about 8:13 at night. And if you're somewhere all throughout the United States in between the West and East, it's sometime somewhere. With that being said, it still is Thursday. That's Chad Bryan to my right, your left. I am Eli Moon. This is the Inside Edge Network. This is Thursday Topics. When we come back, we're going to have a discussion about the MLB. Seems like something we talk about kind of week to week here now on the Inside Edge Network. But the rich get richer and the poor, well, they're just okay with being poor. They just won't make any attempt. We'll talk about the New York Mets and so much more when we come back. That's Chad Bryan. I'm Eli Moon. This is Thursday Topics on the Inside Edge Network. Be back in a second. And welcome back, everybody, to the Inside Edge Network. I am Eli Moon, trying to fix my hat here on the Inside Edge Network and Thursday Topics. That's where we're at. I have Chad Bryan with me. To my right, your left. And now that my hat's situated and Chad's back here with us, we're doing good. Chad, we talked a lot of football that first segment. And, we recapped the hirings, Minter, Halfley, Saleh, McDaniels, the OC. We talked about even McDermott. We talked about the college football playoffs. Talked a lot of football. So how does it sound to you that we maybe we pivot to a little baseball? Does that sound good to you?
Unless you want to talk about getting your hat situated first. If you want to spend a few minutes on that, I'm down. But if not, we can go right to baseball. It's up to you.
So here's the thing with the hat situation is like sometimes like my hair just like doesn't want to sit properly, so I just I got to mess with it. But again, this is Thursday Topics. We have bigger fish to fry besides my hat. Let's go to the MLB here. Chad, the New York Mets made some crazy news this week. They definitely bolstered their offense. Where would you like to start? Let's see. Why don't we just start with this? From the Athletic Salmon, New York Mets trade for third baseman Bo Bichette. He is no longer a Blue Jay. There was talks, obviously, he was coming back to the main roster, the active roster during the World Series run. Dealt with some injuries last year. But a guy who I got to see play at Lansing when he was a Lansing Lugnut. I used to cover the Lake County Captains, run their video board. And Bo Bichette and Vlad Guerrero Jr. were on that Lansing Lugnuts team along so many other studs. The Midwest, let me just tell you, watching the Midwest League in Lake County, I got to see so many stars, Chad, and Bo Bichette was one of them. And so, I kind of like watch his story and kind of see where he goes. Cause it's like, I got to watch him when he was like, like a young Eli Moon when I got into broadcasting. That's, very cool.
Well, he wasn't a little guy, but yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you ask Robin AA and they'll say all I was eating was, McDonald's chicken nuggets at that time. 10-piece chicken nugget meal, hot mustard, and barbecue, man. I'll tell you. But I'll tell you, Bo Bichette.
But that's okay.
Sweet and sour? Okay. I'll tell you this. It's sweet and sour with Bo Bichette, right? Because I like Bo Bichette. I do. I can root for him as a Blue Jay because even though the Blue Jays spent a lot of money, it's still the Blue Jays. I feel like, what, they've kind of earned a right to be in this position because they've been bad, for years. But now you lose Bo Bichette, and where does he go? And it's the New York Mets. And look, I love New York. I've been to New York multiple times for music. I love going there. I love all my bros and everybody out there in New York. I love that.
Yep.
But every time I opened up some sort of reporting app, sports app, my social media, it's Yankees, Mets, Dodgers. And just throw in the big names. And now it's the Mets who've had their fun. This is the first news. We'll recap some other news they had this week that literally broke today. But talk to me about Bo Bichette being a New York Met. It's not David Wright, but it seems like they might have their guy for the next 7-8 years.
Yeah, hopefully he doesn't have the same back issues that plagued David Wright, man. It's actually one of the saddest things. I told you I grew up a Braves fan.
Yeah.
So I spent, a lot of time watching the Braves play the Mets and David Wright at third base. And, man, he could have been a first ballot Hall of Famer if it wouldn't have been for the injuries. But, yeah, Bo Bichette. I think the story is I like Bo Bichette. I'm not going to say anything disparaging. I don't automatically dislike him now because he's a Met. And I'm weird about stuff like this anyway. I sports hate the teams that I hate in sports. I don't really have any personal problems with anybody that plays for them. Like I can't even think of a New York Mets player that I don't personally like. It's just the fact, like, once you put on the blue and orange, I'm not going to root for you. I don't want your team to win. I have no personal problem with these guys. It's not like that at all. Again, it's sports hate. I'm the same way with Ohio State, Michigan. Like, I could walk into Ann Arbor and meet the team, meet the coaches, the new coaches. So I don't necessarily want to shake Sherrod Moore's hand. Could have made a joke. Done. Not going to do it. Although it is late. It is late night. Anyway, we're done. I don't know. I like you said, the rich get richer, right? At least it's not a deferred contract. I just saw today that this coming season, which is probably our last for at least a calendar year at that point, I think we're going to have a pretty significant work stoppage soon this season. But I saw a thing where the Dodgers are paying Kyle Tucker and Shohei Ohtani a combined $3 million in salary in 2026. that makes me want to vomit because of all the deferred money.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, can anybody do this? Like, can the current Braves, can you just sign every free agent and just be like, hey, we'll pay you in 2060. Don't worry about it, right? Like, it's fine. And then like in, 40 years or whatever down the line, 35 years, you look at the Braves and they've got all of a sudden a $900 billion payroll. Like, what happened to us? Like, oh, it was 2025. Don't
Bobby Bonilla is going to be like, hey, there's no more Bobby Bonilla Day because now you're paying all these guys.
Right. That's a national holiday. And all of a sudden he's not alone, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's bizarre. It's and there are stories of guys getting paid. I think Ken Griffey Jr. still gets a paycheck from the Reds.
Mhm.
It happens, right? The deferred contracts happen. But what the Dodgers have done is wild. The money that the Mets have to spend with Cohen is wild. And I can't be mad at these teams for having these resources available to them. But this is going to be the main, I don't want to say the sticking point because I don't know that it's going to stick. But this is going to be a talking point for this labor stoppage, right? The collective bargaining agreement is done after this year. And a big topic is going to be salary cap, salary floor. And that's probably going to be just about the gist of like the main talks. I'm sure we'll get some kind of weird replay thing where, whatever. Or some weird rule change from Rob Manfred where like now, if you're up 5 runs, everybody has to bat their offhand. I don't know, something weird.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, they'll make it like a beer league softball. But,
Yeah.
they'll do something. He'll do something weird. Which, by the way, maybe we need term limits on commissioners. Anyway, I don't know.
Yeah.
This lineup, Francis. Let me just read this lineup to you, okay? 1 through 9.
Yeah.
Francisco Lindor, Juan Soto, Bo Bichette, Jorge Polanco, Marcus Semien, Brett Beatty, Luis Robert. Now we didn't get to that yet. Francisco Alvarez and Carson Bench. I'm sure they'll upgrade that at some point. But now, I mean, you look at the Mets, are they the favorite in the NL East? And this was supposed to be the time where the Braves were putting everything together. I mean, the Braves won that World Series 5 years. That's 5 years ago now. It's wild. But they were way ahead of schedule on that. They were supposed to be like this. The 24 to 28 was supposed to be like the Braves' kind of golden run, right?
Yeah.
I believe Freddie Freeman was supposed to have still been here at the end of his career. There were things that were supposed to have happened with the Braves, but they were early. They won a World Series early, so a little bit went by the wayside. And now all of a sudden the Braves are in this weird position where, like, Alex Anthopoulos doesn't spend money on pitching long term. I think sometimes you have to take that risk a little bit. You have to, you got to make some moves, right? You have to have pitching. The Braves have a ton of potential on the pitching staff. I don't know. It just hasn't really quite panned out yet. There are some guys that are still getting there. That's fine. We can talk about that another time. But the Mets have made themselves maybe, I don't know, they're the favorite in the National League. I mean, other than are we looking at a Mets Dodgers NLCS? I mean, what it feels like.
Yeah, it sure seems like it, Chad. And it's just like it's just all the top markets and the top teams with all the most money to spend are jockeying for these. It's a bidding war right now between all these guys. And the Mets say, hey, if we can't sign them, we'll trade for them. And they do it. They get a hold of Bo Bichette. And like you mentioned, in that lineup that they're looking at is another guy in Luis Robert. Per ESPN's Jeff Passan broke earlier today, New York Mets trade for Chicago White Sox outfielder Luis Robert. And I mean, I think it just kind of segues into the conversation we're just having about the Mets. Yes, I do think they're an NLCS contender. I think they could come out of the NL this year. This is a team that caught a lot of momentum near the end of the year last year. And, we'll see. I mean, especially since it seems like the Mets are gearing up, I don't think this is their last move. Like you said, I think they're going to retool a few other positions. And with baseball, as you mentioned, appearing to be getting closer to a stoppage, well, spend all the money you got because who knows what it really means after we come out of a lockout.
Yeah.
Because that's what it's looking like.
Yeah. It's the big 5 teams. It's like you said, it's the Mets, it's the Yankees, it's the Dodgers, it's the Red Sox, and it's the Cubs. And baseball, and the Blue Jays spend a little bit of money, but baseball, Major League Baseball right now is the literal, it's high 5, down low, too slow, right? Like it's the big 5 teams. Everybody else below that, sorry, you're not going to get a free agent. I don't care. You have to sign organizational depth, right? Like you got to make minor league deals with guys on a prove it type of situation and hope they come back and maybe you get a comeback player of the year or a flash in the pan, whatever. You can't really build a team from the bottom up anymore. If you're not one of those big 5 teams, you can't afford a free agent. People, I listen. People jump on the Guardians all the time for not. You got to go get the big bat. You got to go get a big starter. You got to do this. You got to do that. They can't afford it because if they miss on one of these guys, I know everyone loves to everyone says the Dolans are just swimming in money. I don't think I don't think when they go out to eat they're like looking across the table to see who's going to pick up the bill or anything. But I also don't think that they have that disposable income in that organization. I think it's tied up in assets. It's you'd be surprised how little money some of these owners actually have on the books for payroll. And again, I think that's one of the main topics of when we're watching this work stoppage happen in real time. I mean, these are going to be the things that the owners are talking about behind the scenes, and these are going to be the things that the owners are going to disagree upon. And it makes me nervous for what baseball looks like. Like you said, on the other side of the work stoppage. I mean, what do we? I mean, is it even the game that we recognize? Does it take a hit as far as fandom?
Yeah.
All these streaming networks for every team. If you want to watch a team out of market, good God, I mean, you got to go spend $125 a year to watch the Guardians. You got to spend $125 a year to watch the rest of baseball. It makes no sense to me that I can't pay for the MLB TV package and watch my team. Listen, 1 million people can't go fit in the stadium, right? Like, that's not possible. You can't expect all the blacked out games locally, whatever. Major League Baseball just and also, by the way, the resistance to let people post anything on social media. You see a tweet about a home run and it's gone in 5 minutes. I mean, they scrub it. It's unless they package it and they put it out the way they want it to look, you won't see it on social media. You don't have that with the NFL.
Yeah.
I think Major League Baseball is doing a lot of things wrong right now, and having 5 teams that can afford the big free agents every year is one of the biggest.
Yeah, and I agree with you. Now, the one thing to keep an eye on, though, in Cleveland, and after a potential work stoppage or whatever, in the future is, the Guardians do have, they added minority owner David Blitzer in 2022.
Sure.
So, if the conversations about the Dolans, and if they do have the money, if they don't have the money, if they're spending it, if they're not spending it, that might not be a conversation too much longer. By 2030, we might really be already a few years into the Blitzer era. We'll see. We'll see where we're at. But, that's interesting enough. The guy seems to want to spend money. Blitzer, he has stake with the 76ers as well. And then over in hockey as well, the New Jersey Devils. So interesting enough. Something just to keep an eye on. I mean, not right this instant, because I sure haven't seen the Guardians making any moves. I don't know if I'll see any big moves this offseason, but it kind of seems like
they can't afford to do it going into the work stoppage. They probably won't.
That's what it is. A lot of teams are going to continue to do what they've been doing. There's no switch up. You're not going to see a team that's primarily been a low spender go be a big spender right before a potential lockout. I
know Jose Ramirez loves it here, but he deserves better. I'm sorry.
He does. And he's been very vocal more and more. And I think he deserves to at least go back to a World Series. Yeah. At least go back. So we'll see. And if it won't be here, then he will definitely find somewhere. Somebody will make use of Jose Ramirez in the lineup.
For sure.
Let's talk about some positive stuff, though, because I know you're a Braves guy, and you know what? I wasn't trying to find specific Braves news, but the Baseball Hall of Fame inducted Carlos Beltran and Andrew Jones as their 2026 class, and I think that's pretty cool. Chad, usually I'm up in arms and angry about certain guys. I know Alex Rodriguez was on the ballot. He didn't get in this year. Chase Utley, which I got to be honest, I was a little hurt about Chase Utley. He got 59.1% of the vote. And with that, he'll probably get within the next year or two, it seems like. I was upset he didn't get in this year, but I guess if that's like really trying to find something to get frustrated with. Overall, if these are the two guys, I mean, I remember watching Carlos Beltran. I remember watching Andrew Jones. Two studs. Two guys that were just very good at what they did. MLB wise, whenever I play the MLB 2K or like the show, I found a way to get Carlos Beltran on my team because I just felt like you had to have Carlos Beltran on your team. I know you wouldn't agree as a Braves fan, seeing him all the time, but how do you feel? Do you think they got this right this year?
Yeah, Beltran and Jones. Carlos Beltran, to me, growing up watching the Braves, he was always kind of a Braves killer, right? He played really well against the Braves. Again, nothing personal. I loved watching him play. He just seemed to always get the better of the Braves. Big at bat, Beltran was going to get a hit. He was going to find a way to, to hit a ball out of there, whatever, and it was going to be a bomb. Andrew Jones made playing center field look so easy. and so fun that, like, sometimes I would, I was playing baseball around that time too, and I said, I play center field. Not like that though. And listen, maybe no one has played center field like that. I think Willie Mays is probably, as touted as he is, Willie Mays is probably the most underrated baseball player of all time.
Yeah.
I would probably say that Willie Mays is the best all-around baseball player in the history of baseball. He played in an era where, listen, he didn't get a full major league career, right? He had issues to deal. He had racial issues to deal with. People, I think, sometimes forget about that. He didn't even play his whole career in Major League Baseball, and still, put up. I mean, he did damage, right? He never slowed down. Great center fielder, fantastic arm, could hit for contact, hit for power, could run like the wind. And Willie Mays himself said that Andrew Jones, in his mind, was the best defensive center fielder to ever play the game. To me, that holds a ton of weight. Ken Griffey Jr. is obviously up there. I think of Jim Edmonds, making some crazy catches. People make the joke all the time, well, if Edmonds was a real center fielder, he wouldn't have had to dive all the time, would have gotten those balls. And I'm like, okay, chill out. You think of Edmonds like making all the circus catches, but for me, like in that era, as far as center fielders, I can't think of another guy. I mean, Marquise Grissom was another one for the Braves that was pretty good. He would play super shallow, but he still got to everything, right? Just a really, really, the Braves were just, I was blessed to watch really good, really sound fundamental center fielders. But no one did it quite like Andrew Jones. Had a 51 home run season. Jones's thing, if Andrew Jones would have ever gotten comfortable hitting the ball the other way into the alley, he would have been a 350 hitter for his career. Without a doubt. He had stretches. I mean, I would watch the Braves 140, 150 times a year. I extensively watched his career. And he would have these stretches where 10 or 12 games, I mean, he'd hit 540, and all of a sudden he would pop one down the line for a home run. And then for the next 20 games, he'd hit, 189 with a home, because he was like, okay, I'm going to get to 50. I'm going to get to 60, whatever. You could physically see him swinging out of his shoes. If he ever would have gotten comfortable just using, going alley to alley, basically think of like the Freddie Freeman approach. If Andrew Jones would have ever taken the Freddie Freeman approach, he would have hit 350 for his career, and he probably still would have hit 450 home runs. But as it stands, 434 home runs for his career, top 4 defensive center fielder of all time. Yeah, he deserves to be in. I love it.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, I don't think they got anything wrong. Like I said, I guess the only grief I could have is Utley not getting in. Like I said, 59.1% of the vote, needs 75%. I do think with those two guys getting in this year and him being the next guy, he'll probably be one of the headliners. We'll see though. Other notable things here for Beltran, it was his 4th year on the ballot. He missed it in 2025. He had 70.3%. So very, very close, gets in this year. Andrew Jones was eligible in 2018. They mentioned, this is from Bleacher Report. They struggled to gain traction originally, but he's eventually garnered the attention he needed, got the votes. He's in the Hall of Fame. No more questions. Yeah. So yeah, I think that
Buster Posey going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer, by the way. That's hands down. That's without it.
Let me ask you this. I'll leave you with this before we take a quick pause. We'll let everybody grab their quick caffeine one more time. Maybe a water, maybe for some of us out here. And then we'll come back and we'll talk NBA and we'll recap with who's getting to the Super Bowl with the NFL. But I want to ask you this. Chase Utley, I think, is going to be the guy that gets in. There's some other names. Andy Pettit, Felix Hernandez, Alex Rodriguez, Manny Ramirez, Bobby Abreu, Jimmy Rollins, Cole Hamels, Dustin Pedroia, just to name some names. David Wright's in there, Torrey Hunter, Edwin Encarnacion's on the list. Who gets?
Not Encarnacion, maybe the Parrot.
Yeah. I guess out of those names I listed, is there anyone that stands out to you as like a surefire Hall of Famer next to Utley next year? Because besides maybe Pettit or A-Rod, if you look past the steroids. Manny, the same thing. Manny Ramirez, the same thing.
That's the thing. Are we looking past the steroids? Because that's going to be the biggest thing. Manny Ramirez, to me, is probably the best right-handed hitter in the history of baseball. Manny Ramirez did things with the bat in his hand that I just, quite frankly, didn't see a lot of guys do. Maybe Vladimir Guerrero was close to that for a stretch. But, man, Manny Ramirez is he could absolutely just rake at the plate. And defensively, it wasn't there. But he's like, sometimes to get into the Hall of Fame, you kind of need that personality. And Manny had all the personality, right? I mean, Manny being Manny. Like, There's all kinds of instances. There's plenty of video evidence of Manny being Manny. He's got the kind of personality that I think can carry you. If we are going to look past the steroids, finally, Manny might be that first guy to sneak in. But then that brings on the whole slew of all the other guys, right? Like all the other stuff. What about Roger Clemens? I mean, Roger Clemens won 500 Cy Young Awards. Like, how is he not in the Hall of Fame?
Yeah.
It's just, I don't know. Sometimes I think the baseball writers, I get the whole steroid issue. I get it. But at the same time, it's the Baseball Hall of Fame. It's not the Baseball Hall of guys who did everything the right way. I think sometimes in that regard, part of me says these guys should be in. Part of me says maybe they shouldn't be rewarded for taking a shortcut or whatever. But then again, it's not the hall of the very best players of all time, right? It's the Hall of Fame. With fame comes notoriety. With the steroid use, and I mean, it was the steroid era. It was fun to watch. Speaking of work stoppages, right? It came on the heels of another work stoppage. Well, that whole the Mark McGwire, Sammy Sosa race to 61, 1998, that brought everybody back to baseball. So maybe it is time to look past all that. Hey, I don't know, man. It's just I struggle with it because you don't reward guys for taking a shortcut, but at the same time, you've got guys like Ty Cobb in the Hall of Fame. Ty Cobb was not a good person. The imagination. So, I mean, I don't know if we're gonna tighten the clenches down on guys who are, felt pressure to be the very best they could be, and maybe did something that, it's not the worst thing in the world. It didn't necessarily hurt anyone. I mean, Ty Cobb was a terrible human being. He's in there.
Right. Into the steroid point, it improved the popularity of baseball. Like these guys, they want to punish them now, but we talk about it. We actually talked about this on Main Event probably a month or so ago. But baseball wants to punish, act like they got Bud Selig in the Hall of Fame, but they want to look past all the guys who use steroids, but not recognize that's why baseball became so popular. And like in the early 2000s,
powers that be absolutely knew what was going on. There's no doubt.
Yeah. And I'm saying, and I'll give my credit to my bro, my co-host Robert Zicki on Main Event. He says Bud Selig's in the Hall of Fame, then why can't some of these other guys? And I'm just saying,
should be. Yeah,
a Hall of Fame with Chase Utley and Alex Rodriguez, Manny Ramirez, and maybe throw in a guy that rises up there, like maybe like Abreu or Pedroia even or Hamels.
Yeah,
I haven't watched a Hall of Fame ceremony speech in a few years at least. I'd watch that. You want to get some viewers? I mean, you want to get, they'll give you viewers one last time. You put Manny and A-Rod in the Hall of Fame. That's all I'll say. So interesting. With that being said, polarizing indeed. We have some very interesting stuff to break down here. We may get a little polarizing by the end of this show, Chad, when we talk about our AFC and NFC conference championship winners. We'll see if we're on the same page or not. Okay. Before we get to that, we're going to go over the NBA. Got some big news out of Golden State. Some national news as All-Star break is starting to get closer, which means the All-Star game is on the rise. And, just a whole lot of stuff. Oh, and by the way, Kevin Durant made some news, and it wasn't because he switched a team or because he was frustrated with somebody. I'm actually happy for Kevin Durant. He gets a lot of flex. So I'm going to be happy for KD. All right, Chad Bryan, to my right, your left, I'm Eli Moon. This is the Inside Edge Network. This is Thursday Topics. And we'll be right back going over NBA and our conference championship predictions for the NFL to send you into your Friday. And welcome back, everybody, to the Inside Edge Network presentation of Thursday Topics. I am Eli Moon. That is Chad Bryan. I have been struggling with this hat all show, Chad, and I think by main event, I'm going to be wearing a bucket hat. Yeah. So, yeah, with that being said, thank you for tuning in with us so far. If you're on the East Coast, West Coast, somewhere in between, or maybe not even in the United States, outside in a different country, rocking with us, whatever time it may be there, thank you so much for rocking with us as we continue to bring the best in sports, entertainment, mental health, and music all around. Weekly programming. Before we get into our last bit of things here, just want to remind everybody, Chad, him and TK Dandridge do a great job Mondays. Right now, I know they're working on switching some things around. And
we'll be back this Saturday. Actually, we will be back on Saturday. So we're gonna
look at that.
We're back. We have
that's right.
Circle, man.
That is why you stick around till 11:49 on the East Coast on Thursday Topics.
Breaking news, by the way.
Breaking news, literally. So yeah, Chad back in the saddle this weekend with TK Dandridge, Illegal Formation. They did have an episode on Monday. Make sure you go check it out. Still great stuff. Still relevant to everything we're talking about even today. So great stuff. And then you can check out the Inside Edge Network NFL pregame show, the preview show, and it's really, Chad, TK, and Ryan Moss are doing their things, and they do a great job there. So make sure you tune in and check that out this weekend. We'll give our thoughts, but Chad's gonna give a lot more on this weekend, right? I'm gonna see if I can get some predictions out of them today. We'll get to that.
It's late. You might be able to trick me into saying something.
Yeah. And then of course you can see me all over. I feel like Conversations with Eli Moon, typically Tuesdays. It did air about 2 hours ago with my guy Cliche, Lahele member, part of the collective I'm part of, and just a great rising artist in Cleveland, and he's traveled with me to New York and Texas. Check that interview out. That's typically on Tuesday, so you get a little Thursday edition before you jumped in here with us on Thursday Topics. But Conversation with Eli Moon on Tuesdays. Real Talk with Papa Moon on Saturdays at 5 p.m. Tuesday at 7 for conversations with myself. And then Sunday, main event. Oh, my goodness. Those guys would be so mad if I just blinked like that. Sunday, main event with the fellas. 8 typically to 10, 30, 11. We may be running into your Monday morning, but we'll get your week started. And then, obviously, we'll just keep rolling with content. Got Jersey Chasers out there. The girls, Autumn and Christy, do a great job. Just Side Hustle Wrestling Podcast with Double A and Kyle. Just so much great content. I know I'm sure everybody tuning in hears plugs and ads from all across the world and different, this isn't that. I just want to remind you there is a different place to go find your information, to find your opinions and to be part of a community. And we want to welcome you to part of a community. You're here tuning in with us. You're literally rocking with us. So thank you.
Yep. So, and we would love to hear, by the way, what you think about anything that we talk about. Like, comment at any time. We want to engage with you. We want to hear what you're thinking. What you have to say, really.
Yes, we love it. So like Chad said, let us know what you're thinking about. Anything we talked about tonight, anything we talk about in the future at Inside Edge Net. That's on all the socials: TikTok, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. And yeah, very good stuff. Make sure you also give us a follow if you see our ads and you like some of our takes. With that being said, let's get into some NBA stuff, Chad. Some exciting stuff. I talked about Kevin Durant. Usually it'd be because he's in the news, maybe trade, or he's not happy, or this. I like Kevin Durant. I know it's a hot take in Cleveland because he stole all of our happiness and our championships, but he's a great player, and he passed Dirk Nowitzki earlier this week for 6th on the all-time scoring list. I kind of was shocked, and I don't know if I'm shocked like that he's not like 5th or higher right now already, or that he's lower. I mean, the injuries with Kevin Durant. Obviously, the really serious one in the finals with Golden State. I mean, just constant injuries ever since winning those championships, those back-to-back championships in Golden State. So maybe that's the reason why he's not higher. I mean, it's got to be the reason because the game's missed. But it just feels like he should be a lot higher. I feel like we should be almost having like Kevin Durant discussion of can he catch LeBron, and we're not going to have that discussion.
No, we're not. No, unless he plays for another 30 years. I don't know. I think this is something that we talked about before. And by the way, I want to say, I want to explain. If you're very observant, you'll notice that I'm wearing a different sweatshirt. There's a reason for that. I went on a small, I don't even know what to call it. It was an adventure during our last break. I went down, I was in front of the bathroom real quick. But my wife was making cookies. She's got something going on tomorrow night at the meeting, so she's making cookies. So she was in the bathroom. I'm like, okay, I can't go to the bathroom there. She's showering, whatever, doing her thing. So I ran downstairs. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to run back upstairs. I'm going to get my water. I'm going to refill it. In the process, while I was taking my lid off, I spilled it all over. I can't come back on here with a wet shirt. So I've got ice water running down the front of me. I got to run downstairs to the bathroom. I just went through a whole. So basically, I'm here, Mr. Rogersing it on you. I've changed outfits in the middle of the show, changed my slippers, changed whatever. Anyway,
I was wondering, you looked a little different. I'm not gonna lie, you looked a little different this last segment, Chad. All right,
yeah,
all right.
I had no choice. Had to make the outfit change. Didn't have any help. Backstage, you got people at concerts. They take the thing off. They put something else on you. I had to do it all by myself, Eli. I made it. I'm here.
Hey, I'll tell you this. I know you got some thoughts on Durant. I'll say this: with that type of perseverance, you might become one of the top coaching candidates for the Cleveland Browns. I'm just letting you know.
They may not have a choice. They're running out of options. I'm going to get my resume in there before it gets too late.
Absolutely.
Kevin Durant. We talked about it before the show, and I told you it's like I think it's because of so he played obviously before COVID. He played after COVID. And for me, this is like one of those COVID fog things. I'm like, where did all the points come from? But at the same time, how is he not third or second on the? It's bizarre to me. It's really weird. It's like this. It's almost like polarizing to myself. Like I'm like, how is he not higher on the list? But then at the same time, I'm like, well, he's always like, I don't know, the second fiddle years to Steph, right? Because you go to Golden State, it doesn't matter who you are, you're the second fiddle to Steph Curry. But he still scored there. He's a volume scorer, right? I don't know how to feel about this one. I'm happy for him. I've never disliked him. Whatever. He went to Golden State, and I thought that was a weird move. To lose to them with Oklahoma City in the final and then immediately join, I had a hard time getting behind that because when I played sports, man, if I lost to a team, all I thought about in the offseason was how to get better, how to make sure that never happened again. I'm never losing to that team again. I don't care if it's a regular season game, whatever. But, if a team ended my season, all I wanted to do was have that chance for redemption, right? I know.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, we may have lost Chad here for a moment. See if he comes back here to the frame. 1 second. We'll see if we might. I think we hear you. We're back. We got you. We're
that
back.
Was weird. What's going on over here?
Well, they heard you talking about switching teams and whatnot, and they, the powers that be did not like that, so they said sorry.
Okay, fair enough. They got to shut me down. Kevin Durant's watching, as Kurt Signetti is. They're both big time viewers of the show. I get it.
Yeah.
They have extensive IT knowledge apparently, but yeah, I don't know. Like I said, the joining of a team is a new thing for me.
Yeah,
I guess LeBron kind of started that. They made the whole super team down in Miami, whatever. Not one, not two, not three. Okay, fine. He took his talents to South Beach, and then the rest of the NBA said, "Well, we can do that." You could argue the Celtics did it first with whatever. I don't know. That's a new thing for me, and whatever. Like I said, I sound like an old guy. I'm not angry about it. It's just something for me to get used to. I don't think that NIL and the transfer portal are ruining college football. I'm not that old. I don't know. Kevin Durant just had such a weird career for me. And there's, like I said, there's also the before COVID to the after COVID kind of fog area for me, where I watched LeBron more extensively. He was in Cleveland twice. I get, he's the number one scorer of all time, and I see it. I've seen a lot of those points.
Right.
Man, it just seemed to happen. A lot of it happened out on the West Coast. And you know how it is, man. You live on the East Coast. If it happens on the West Coast in sports, it doesn't happen. It's a really bizarre thing, unless it's the Dodgers, making all the news with their deferred payments. But
yeah,
it's whatever. But yeah, Durant, he's just, like I say, he's just had such a weird career to me that he's obviously, a first ballot Hall of Fame, easy Hall of Famer. So it doesn't surprise me that he's this high on the list 6, but in another way, it does kind of surprise me that he's not fourth, third, higher on the. I don't know how to feel about this. It's really weird, Eli.
Yeah, it is. It is weird. And I guess I just don't know if I feel more shocked that he's not higher. Like I said, top 5, or if that where he's at is crazy alone. I think I'm leaning towards more of the first statement I have, which is I think it's crazy he's not higher. And I want to bring that to the fold here, Chad.
Yeah.
Kevin Durant, right now, he has 31,580 points as of, right now. Dirk Nowitzki had 31,560, so now he's 20 points higher. 31,580 for Durant. Fifth all time is Michael Jordan at 32,292. Kobe Bryant at 33,643. And then after that, Malone's at 36,000. Abdul-Jabbar at 38. LeBron at the top at 42,000. What I'll ask is, do you think Kevin Durant can get into, essentially swap spots with Kobe? Can he jump Jordan? Does he get into the top 5 all-time scoring based off what we just? It's about 2,000 points away.
Yeah, I mean, what's he got to play? 2 more seasons, he should be there, right? I mean, pretty easily. I think it depends on. I mean, listen, with Durant, it's the legs, right? It's how long can his legs last? I watch him play, and I sometimes I can't believe, like, he had where are the calf muscles? I don't understand. Like, how does that frame even support him? I don't understand how his legs even hold him up, to be honest with you. And when he was injured, I thought this is like my biggest fear for him. Like I always expected him to have like some kind of catastrophic leg injury because he's just like so thin, right? Like his legs are so thin. Not that I rooted for it, but it's like when it happened, I was like, I knew this was going to happen to this guy at some point, right? With him, I think that's the biggest thing. I think it's going to be health. Can he stay healthy long enough? If he does stay healthy, I think he's quietly going to pour enough points and he'll end up above Jordan and Kobe, which is wild when you think about it.
Wild. Absolutely wild. Now to think about too, he's 37 years old. He'll be 38. His birthday is September 29th. So he'll be 38 when next season starts. So, about halfway through the year now, about 2,000 points away. We'll see. And obviously we'll see, that'll be a big storyline going into his season next year is if he's not there, then it's like, okay, we're watching how far into the top 5 Kevin Durant can get.
Yeah, I think he retires by 40. I don't think he's the guy that's going to play 41, 42, 40. No. I don't think he's that type of guy. I think he'll be done by 40. So, like I said, if he can stay healthy, I think he gets there.
I think a poor Houston Rockets postseason exit could lead him to just retire.
Maybe. That could be too.
We'll see.
We'll see. Yep.
We'll see. Let's pivot here to a conversation in Golden State. And, we talked about one star. Let's talk about another star. Right. This time who's spending time in Golden State. ESPN Shams Charania, announced earlier this week that Golden State Warriors, Jimmy Butler tears his ACL, is out for the season. Chad, a week ago, we were talking about Jonathan Kuminga demanding a trade out of Golden State. He gets some minutes, looks good. Steve Kerr gives him like a tap on the chest, like, we're going to need you. They're even the front office and Mike Dunleavy is out there for Golden State saying, well, when you demand a trade, there needs to be a demand. Which is crazy talk about the player that you're going to need if you want any playoff hopes. He is going to serve as, the fill-in for Jimmy Butler. He is now more needed than ever, which is good for Jonathan Kuminga on that note because he's going to get a chance to play. And if the Warriors don't see him in their long-term future, if he's just the Band-Aid for right now, then he is going to be somebody's, off-season target or whatever next season. So that's good for him. As far as Jimmy Butler, this sucks. I get where, Cleveland fans and Golden State is like our arch nemesis, but when it comes to injuries, you're never going to catch me sitting here talking anything but well wishes. And this sucks because, and especially with Jimmy Butler, right? I'm a big Jimmy Butler fan. I like them, coming out of Marquette as the gritty defender who, hey, his offense is going to need some work, but he'll attack. He may not be the greatest, but he'll attack right now. And, leading those teams with D Rose, eventually becoming the man in Chicago with D Rose suffering with some injuries in his career. I mean, Jimmy Butler, I still remember talked about the COVID, blur. One thing I do remember is him leaning over and just being just spent because he tried everything he could to bring home an NBA championship. The Lakers ended up winning it that year. Jimmy Butler is such a true competitor. He is getting a little bit older. We just talked about Kevin Durant, and Jimmy Butler, is on the other side of 30, so it's this type of injury, not great. He's 36 years old. Birthday, we're talking birthdays, another September birthday, September 14th. So, he'll be another year older next season, 37. Yeah. Not the most ideal time to tear your ACL. And so it just sucks, first off, Chad. I mean, but not... If they would have moved off of Kuminga quickly and just said, you know what, we're done with him. Imagine how worse off in a spot the Warriors would be. I guess first off, let's talk about the Warriors because for Jimmy Butler, I don't know if Now you're just like a vet, after this contract, you're a vet minimum guy. I mean, or you just say, I'll ride this contract out and that's it. This was his chance to really get the ring. Unfortunately, he's on the run with Golden State where, they won their championships, and it doesn't appear, unless something really shakes, that Steph and Draymond and Steve Kerr are going to win another championship. So just sucks for Jimmy Butler, but like, man, the Warriors could have been in a really, really bad spot. This is bad. Could have been even worse if they moved off of Kuminga last week.
Yeah. You wonder where everybody's head's at now. I mean, sometimes things like this, I get it. Steph Curry is the guy, right? He's the superstar. He's the media darling, whatever you want to say. But Jimmy Butler kind of feels like sometimes he's just like the heart and soul, right? Like you said, such a competitor. When I think of Jimmy Butler, I think of that guy that flips the switch come playoff time. And all of a sudden he's a huge problem, right? Like on the floor, doing stuff he didn't typically do in the regular season. All of a sudden he's like, wow, what Jimmy Butler is this? Like you said, the COVID year, he was amazing in the playoffs.
Yeah.
We've seen it, in flashes here and there since, where he's like carried whatever team he's been on for an entire series. And I hate this for him. First of all, like you said, I'm never going to root for an injury. There's really been only one player that I was somewhat not upset to see get injured. I won't disclose that on the show. But it was one time. And even then, like a couple of days later, I was like, no, I feel bad. I don't know. I'm never going to root for an injury for a guy. So this sucks for him. I hate that. I don't care if it's Golden State. Don't care if it's Michigan. Don't care who it is. Never, ever am I going to root for an injury for anybody. So, yeah, that stinks. But, yeah, you look at the Golden State Warriors. They're 25-21 right now. If the season ended today, they would be the 8th seed. You have to wonder what this does for Kuminga. Does he start I hate to say, but does he feel more needed, wanted now? Does he feel like he's more of a centric piece to that team? Does that elevate his play? Does he feel any kind of loyalty at all? I mean, was he close with Jimmy Butler? Does he see Butler go down and go, you know what, I got this. I'm going to pick you up, man. I got you. I don't know. I think it remains to be seen, but it's the way that Golden State fell off is I don't know. It's puzzling to me.
Yeah,
it was a strange fall off, but you could say the same about the Cavs. I mean, but Golden State still has everybody that was there except for Clay, right? Like it's just a weird. I don't know.
Yeah, the Durant and Thompson, Clay Thompson injuries, Durant leaving, Clay leaving, them missing 2 drafts, not taking LaMelo and instead of taking James Wiseman, some bad moves draft wise. Kuminga, we're talking about one of their top 10 draft picks right now, not being happy.
Did nothing wrong for a long time, by the way. I mean, to build this they did everything perfectly. So yeah.
Yeah. And it's like, the old guard is kind of passing. And Kuminga, talked about the other night, he had a good game, 21 minutes. They needed him 20 points against the Raptors the other night. Yeah. And the 5 rebounds, 2 assists, a steal, 5, not great from the free throw line, 5 for 8, but 7 to 10 from the floor. Then you look at, tonight, he actually, played tonight, January 22nd, earlier tonight against the Mavericks. It's a game that is going on, it actually just concluded not too long ago. 123-115. We got some NBA final score for you. Mavericks over Warriors. Now, the reason I bring that up, though, is because you look at Kuminga's stats, 9 minutes, 10 points, 3 of 3 from the floor, 4 of 4 from the line, 1 rebound, 2 assists, 2 steals. But in a game you lose, and we just talked about how they were happy with his performance 2 days ago. Just seems like this is such a mess. I don't think this is going to end well in terms of like them working past this. I think Kuminga eventually moves on. I think there needs to be a conversation about Steve Kerr and the development of players because, okay, if you didn't have Steph Curry the last 10 years, where's your development of players? Everything you adopted to win those championships respectfully was Mark Jackson's team.
Yeah. And
you just did a good job of being the vibe.
Yeah.
You were the right vibe and you didn't mess things up.
Right place, right time.
Yeah. And you know what, Steve Kerr, I mean, now it's going to get a little more interesting. This Jimmy Butler injury, like handling the Jonathan Kuminga situation to keep an eye on. But Butler, just one more note on him before we pivot here. One more NBA story. Jimmy Butler, 2-year. He's currently on a 2-year, $110.96 million contract extension with the Warriors, signed after the trade when he got to Golden State. It runs through the 2026-2027 season. And yeah, with Butler, the other thing to keep an eye on, I mentioned his age, 37 next year. We just talked about Durant, playing maybe to 40. This, with the ACL, this might be the last few seasons of Jimmy Butler, which makes me sad. So
yeah, it feels like it could really be it. I mean, especially after you said an ACL at 36, going to be 37. Feels like we could be, maybe seeing the last couple of year and a half or so of Jimmy Butler. It's the end of an era. I mean, LeBron is on his way out. It's just, I don't know, man. It's crazy how fast these last 20 years have gone.
Yeah. No, I mean, yeah.
20 years, but it's just like just that 20-year period in the NBA period. It's gone so fast.
It has. Like, even looking at like Jimmy Butler, 37.
Yeah.
Like, what? What? So Kevin Durant, 37, like the end of his career, like crazy.
Wild.
We talked about that's such a great pivot into our next discussion here at the NBA, last NBA story of the day. We talked about kind of the old guard. Let's talk about the new guard. 2026 NBA All-Star starters announced. Obviously, the big news I would say, Chad, is that LeBron James was not a starter. Yeah. Should get another All-Star appearance, his 22nd. Which shout out to LeBron. That's just continued success, but that's obviously a shocker to casual NBA fans, people that watch every night right now would realize that probably LeBron's not an NBA starter as opposed to other guys that are available. But it's just a shock. You kind of like certains in life, and LeBron James being an NBA All-Star starter has been that for quite some time. Almost my whole life. And so that's shocking. And then here in Cleveland, Donovan Mitchell not named a starter as well.
Yeah.
So just, I mean, and it's interesting, the NBA, they've tried so many different ways for this NBA All-Star game to make it exciting. They've done, the players draft their own teams. They do East versus West, it used to be. Then they do this one. Now they do 4 different teams. It is getting so confusing. What they really do, this year, it's a 2-step process. You have the fan vote to determine the starters. So to pick the starters, the NBA, this is from NBC Sports. But, they're breaking down to pick the starters. The NBA relied on 50% fan votes from around the world, combined with 25% votes from NBA stars themselves and 25% of votes from NBA media. Those votes determined the 10 starters who were announced Monday. And then on February 1st, the rest of the All-Star Game roster will be announced. That it allows coaches around the league to vote to determine the rest of the players. And, let's go over these real quick, though, Chad. And I want to get your thoughts on the All-Star lineup and feel like, we'll talk about if they got it right or got it wrong. Yeah, Eastern Conference, you have Giannis Antetokounmpo, the Greek Freak from the Milwaukee Bucks, Jaylen Brown from the Boston Celtics, Jalen Brunson from the New York Knicks, Cade Cunningham from the Detroit Pistons, and Tyrese Maxey from the Philadelphia 76ers. And on the Western Conference, you have Stephen Curry from the Golden State Warriors, Luka Doncic from the Los Angeles Lakers, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Oklahoma City Thunder, Nikola Jokic, Denver Nuggets, and Victor Wembanyama of the San Antonio Spurs. What are your thoughts, Chad?
Where's Anthony Edwards? That's my first thought.
Yeah, he's been seeming to miss more time this year. I think that would be the only reason I'd say,
Yeah, I don't know, average 30 points a game. I mean, it's just over 29.5 points a game right now.
Yeah.
I believe that's a career high for him. And Donovan Mitchell, I kind of get locally, all I hear is, the Cavs just getting bashed locally. So I don't know what the perception is. I know the Cavs, obviously the popularity was immensely different when LeBron James was here. I guess Donovan Mitchell, I'm a little surprised because he's played really well. But it's just the Cavs have been very bad, and you're not going to get the national accolades when your team's down a little bit, right? So the Cavs just seem kind of boring. There's nothing really to hang your hat on when you look at this team. So I'm so surprised that Mitchell wasn't voted in, but Anthony Edwards surprised me a little bit, I guess. Averaging almost 30 points per game. Would have expected him to be there. I'm not sure who you put him in over. I'm looking at it's like, I don't know who you pick, but I don't know.
That's the only thing, Chad.
I may have lost Eli for a second here. I don't know if
I'm back.
You're back. Okay.
I pulled a Houdini. I'm toggling all throughout the different tabs here to make sure I wasn't.
I thought KD shut us down again.
Dude, that would have been crazy. I am back, but I appreciate you being ready to roll just in case I wasn't here, Chad.
Of
I will
course.
I say this about Anthony Edwards, though. You bring up a good point. That'd be the only guy I probably would say could get in. It's not LeBron because, like I said, if you watch LeBron on a night basis,
Yeah.
it's not just not anymore. He's a starter or an all-star for sure, but he's not a starter. Edwards, I did look. He's missed some games this year. Missed the first few games. The stretch there, he missed about 4 games. Another stretch where he misses another 3, and then another 2 here. So the games start adding up, and especially the way they're looking at it now, with like you have to play at least like 65 games to win MVP or any of these awards. It seems like they're probably going to start holding that towards the All-Star standard too. I mean, at least for their vote. It's interesting. West is stacked though. Eastern Conference, I really don't see any issue either. To be honest, Cade Cunningham, Detroit's a great team right now. I mean, Jaylen Brown, Jaylen Brown, I don't have any issues, man. I mean, I think you actually brought it up. The only one I guess we could say is like Anthony Edwards, but yeah. So it seems like they actually did a good job this year. I
get the missed games. I get that. And I get, like you said, your team's kind of a terrible start for the Cavs. No all-star start. Listen, Donovan Mitchell's going to be an all-star. He's going to be there. Just not a starter. That's okay. The one thing I wanted to say about LeBron, by the way,
yes,
seen some there's always going to be disparaging remarks when you talk about LeBron. You want to talk about polarizing. LeBron James is very polarizing. But what we're seeing from him at 41 years old, 22.5 points a game, ridiculous. 6 rebounds, 7 assists a game, still shooting over 50% from the floor. This LeBron James over 40 is nothing like we've ever seen anybody play over 40 years old in the league ever. It's amazing what he's been able to do. And the fact that he's been so good that 22.5, 6 and 7 is a joke for some people for him. It shows you how truly great. I don't get the hate for LeBron. I'm confused by that.
Yeah, it's something that it seems like won't stop even after he's done playing. I'm sure people will find a way, one way to love him or hate him, and
truly.
But regardless, yeah, definitely all-star numbers, whether it's starter or not. Obviously, the NBA doesn't view it as starter, but he should be an all-star.
Maybe family doesn't view it as a star. I don't know.
Yeah, stay tuned. More Thursday topics coming up in the coming weeks, and I'm sure we'll have at some point some LeBron news again. Yeah. With that being said, that is our NBA couplet of stories and our trio of stories.
Yeah.
We have just one more order of business to take care of here, me and Chad and I, as we take you here into your Fridays. If you're on the East Coast, you're 15 minutes into your Friday. Thanks for rocking out with us. We're going to go ahead and get ready for the weekend coming up, and it is Conference Championship Week in the NFL, Chad. We have 2 games. We have in the AFC, it is the New England Patriots at the Denver Broncos. In the NFC Championship, we have the Los Angeles Rams at the Seattle Seahawks. And I know you're going to get into a lot of X's and O's, break down the games. So I don't want to take away from the shine that you're going to give with TK and Ryan and everybody out there listening right now, watching. Make sure you tune in this weekend because we're not going to go X's and O's. But I'm going to get 2 answers out of Chad before we end the show.
Fair enough.
And it's very simple. Who wins these games, Chad? In the AFC Championship game, we'll start there. Patriots at Broncos.
Well, you got to look at where the Broncos are right now. Without Bo Nix, you've got Jarrett Stidham starting. I'm not sure the last time Jarrett Stidham played meaningful football in the NFL. Now here he is in the AFC Championship game. By the way, going against this Mike Vrabel defense, who has picked it up a lot in his first year in New England. I don't envy the spot that Jarrett Stidham's in. I heard someone say on the radio today that Jarrett Stidham can play a C+ game and still beat the Patriots. I am rushing to find the disagree button. I could not disagree with that more. I think Jarrett Stidham's going to have to play an A+ game. I think the Patriots have this one. I don't want to say in the bag, but I think the Patriots are going to win this game.
Okay. I'll give my pick as well because I will be going on main event. We'll have our show, but it'll be after the conference championship games. So here I will give my pick.
Okay.
In the AFC, I hear what you're saying about the C+ game and, the reports, the talk, all that. I think C+, if it means game managing and it means you don't turn the ball over, but it's not, it's not sexy. It's not 3 passing touchdowns. If that's what they mean by C plus, just not turning the ball over, then the Broncos are winning this football game.
Okay.
The Denver Broncos are going to win in Mile High. They are going to take care of business. Jared Stidham, I don't think, is going to turn the ball over enough to impact the game for Denver. He may have a oopsies interception. I haven't played in a while. My bad. Or fumble the ball.
Team, my bad.
Yeah, at one point, I was on a different team, but he's going to hand the ball off to RJ Harvey. He is going to hand the ball off to Jaleel McLaughlin, and he's going to look into, the safety blankets of Cortland Sutton. And, that's really the big one. But other than that, you just got to hope he just doesn't turn the ball over. And I guess, it's more so for me, I believe in the defense. This Denver defense has been so dang good all year round. And so is New England's. I get it. But there's still something to be said about, okay, don't turn the ball over. And it may not be sexy, as opposed to the ball is going to be turned over 4 times in a game, and you may not win it this week. Drake May fumbled the ball 4 times to an interception last week, had more turnovers than had more turnovers than CJ Stroud. Josh Allen had a heck of a week last week too. But he had more turnovers than CJ Stroud, won that game handedly. But I don't know if that's the same case if it happens in Denver. Could be a little cold. It may not snow, but it may. We'll see. But it's going to be cold in Denver. We'll see if Drake May can step up and really have that moment.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, Bo Nix injured out for the rest of the year with a broken bone in his ankle. He won't get to have that moment. But the Broncos are in this position because of his leadership on offense, because of Sean Payton. This is just going to be a good football game. I think anybody expecting a blowout is mistaken and should turn this game on. It's the first game of the 2 at 3:00.
Yeah.
And I got Broncos in this one. I think the Denver Broncos get back to the Super Bowl.
Okay. I love it. I disagree with you. I think the Patriots are going to win it. Like I said, I think we expected CJ Stroud to do was manage the game. And wow.
But to that point though, in fairness, Chad, CJ Stroud's also coming out after the game saying he's trying to get used to not being Superman. Seems like that he's just confused on what he needs to do to just win football games, as opposed to when's he got to look like a certain star. Jared Stidham doesn't probably care anything about what his stats look like. The only stat he cares about is 2-0. If he goes 2-0, he gets a Super Bowl championship as a starter.
Yeah, and he's Nick Foles. Yeah, right.
Yeah, so yeah, absolutely interesting there. AFC, Chad's got Patriots. I got Broncos. We're gonna go to one more here before we get out of here. That is the NFC Championship game. The Los Angeles Rams at the Seattle Seahawks. Chad, I'll take this first, I guess, and then I'll let you share your points. Since you went first, I'll reveal my hand here. I think as much as the Los Angeles Rams and Matthew Stafford and Sean McVay, and they have won it before. They have won a Super Bowl. And in fact, Sean McVay's been the 2. One with Goff, one with Stafford. 1-1. They have had a great run. Puka Nacua, arguably the best receiver in the league. I think it could be, other guys. I'm an Amon-Ra St. Brown guy, so I'll still argue that he's got to make his name in the conversation too.
Could be a guy on the other sideline, by the way.
Yeah. And it's when you look at this team, this Rams team, and you look at it, you go, man, they've been so gritty, all year round. But they had that slide. And during that slide, who stepped up? But the number 1 seeded Seattle Seahawks. And yes, it's Sam Darnold. And at one point on national television, he was telling everybody he was seeing ghosts. And he went from the Jets to different teams and had to play backup and third string to Baker Mayfield at one point. But this is the second year in a row Sam Darnold made the playoffs. He now has a playoff victory, and he's in position to get to the Super Bowl. And to Double A's point, he would be the first quarterback from that draft class of Darnold, Baker, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, and then can't forget Josh Rosen to make the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And he's going to do it. Sam Darnold and this high-powered offense led by the running backs of Kenneth Walker, Zach Charbonnet. You mentioned Jackson Smith and Jigba. Cooper Kupp, who has been a veteran presence playing his former team. And that Seahawks defense, they love Mike McDonald there. They're innovative, on offense with Clint Kubiak. And I think if we're talking either game that has a chance to be a blowout, I don't know about blowout, but this could be a 10-point game in favor of the Seattle Seahawks. The Seahawks get to the Super Bowl. We're going to get a rematch from about a decade ago, a little bit over a decade ago. and it's going to be Broncos Broncos versus Seahawks in the Super Bowl.
Okay.
What do you say, Chad?
I do not disagree with you this time. I think the Seahawks are a machine. I think the fact that they're 8-1 on the road, they're 6-2 at home in the regular. I think that says a lot about the character and the makeup of this team, right? The leadership, something we don't get to talk about very much unless it's negative in Cleveland. The just from the top down, this is an absolute world-class organization. They're a world-class football team. I think they're going to show you that on Sunday. I think they might win this game by 17 or more. I think this I don't know if 17 is a blowout, but this is going to be – I think Seattle wins this game. I think it feels fairly easy at the end of the game. I think you look back and the score might be closer than the game really was. The score – sometimes the score can – if you just look at the score, you see one story, but if you watch the game, you feel another. So you feel it, right?
Yeah.
I think if you watch this game, I think you might feel the Seahawks are going to be in control of this thing from the beginning. I wouldn't be surprised to see them run another kickoff back to start the game. I mean, they've just got lightning in a bottle right now. They're the team. They're the squad. They're not afraid of anything. And I think they might run over the Rams on Sunday.
They sure could, and the Rams have heard the noise all year. Is it behind them? Is it behind Stafford especially? He'll get a chance on Sunday in prime time to get back to the Super Bowl, his second, and in a potential MVP season. We talk about Drake May, talk about Matthew Stafford, the top two, front runners for MVP this year. And they're both going to get a chance to show, what they're made of. So it's going to be interesting. Yeah. For those keeping score at home, and Chad will go into more this weekend with you, but he is going to take the Patriots versus the Seahawks in the Super Bowl, and I'm going to take the Broncos versus the Seahawks. So we're pretty, we're walking, together here with the Seahawks. We agree, but the AFC Championship game, one of us is going to get a text saying, "Told you." So we'll see. We'll see who says who.
It'll probably be me. You'll be texting me going, "Hey, I told you so." That's all right.
You'll be buying your Jared Stidham jersey after he throws like 5 passing touchdowns.
There you go.
We'll see. We'll see.
5 touchdowns. That's it.
It'd be insane. With that being said, we want to say thank you on behalf of Chad, myself, the Inside Edge Network. We want to say thank you for tuning in, not only today, but just all week, the entire 5 months and over 5 months now. We've been with you since week 1 of the NFL season. And we have been blessed to have so many people tuning in with us across the world, hearing us from sports to entertainment to music to mental health. We are just blessed to be able to be in these positions to speak with you every day and for you guys to rock with us. So truly, when we say thank you, we truly mean thank you, because we cannot do this without you. With that being said, also, I do want to remind you, if you are tuned in, whether it's on Twitter or X or YouTube, wherever you're at, find a way to go follow or subscribe to the Inside Edge Network. If you loved what me and Chad just talked about, you're going to love everything on the network. There's so many different takes, so many different people to meet. I promise you, it's a whole family here. And you go follow us on Twitter, you'll stay locked in, or X, you'll stay locked in. YouTube, subscribe, you'll be locked in. We are just hoping you'll join us as we get to talk about the rest of the NFL season. We get into the NBA and so many sports. Sports are always going around. Well, there's always something to talk about, and we're going to be here to talk to you about it, because your voice truly, as Papa Moon says, your voice matters. So thank you. Chad, any final parting words here on this Thursday turn into Friday topics?
No, I'm just hoping to keep this sweatshirt dry for the rest of the night until I head to bed, man. I'm hoping to have some good luck with that. Had a rough night, man. It's been an adventure. So no, I'm looking forward to the football this weekend. Really looking forward to the preview show on Sunday. Again, we're going to start at noon. We will. Last week we talked about offensive tackles because the Browns need help on the offensive line. So this Sunday we're going to go back to the draft, and we're going to talk about interior linemen. You'll get a quick look at Ryan Moster's algorithm that he developed. That's smart guy stuff, man. He developed a whole algorithm to rank.
I love it.
It's amazing. I mean, I love it. It's been texting me stuff. My mind is completely blown by what he's done. So please don't miss that. We'll look at Ryan Moster's big board. Whatever. Got Ryan Moster's big board. That's fun. But yeah, we'll take a look at interior linemen, centers, guards. And maybe we'll try to mention a couple tackles we think you might be able to move into the interior. I'm not a big fan of moving a right tackle to the left tackle. I don't like that. We tried that with Jedrick Wills. That didn't work.
Yeah.
with DeJuan Jones. It's not working. Please don't do that. You can move guys in, just don't move them across. Don't do that. We'll talk about interior offensive linemen in the draft. We'll talk about some targets. We'll probably have some kind of update on the Browns head coaching search. There'll be some movement by then, I'm sure. And other than that, just listen. Go to your store and freak out and panic buy all the bread, all the milk, all the whatever you buy when things are going to get bad. We're going to have a little winter storm this weekend too, so that could make it just interesting. You're going to be, stuck in the house with nowhere to go. You might as well tune into the Inside Edge Network and just hang out with us, right? Yeah, we'll be here, man. We'll be here Sunday. We'll be here all through the weekend. And Eli said to follow us. Make sure you click on the bell to be notified when we go live, because you never know when a new show might pop up or when TK and I migrate to another day. We might make up a day. We might invent an 8th day of the week just to be able to go live on that day. You never know what we're going to do. So
I love it.
Yeah, just make sure you're like you said, locked in, and make sure you're notified every time we go live, so you can be here with us and you can comment along with us. You can be a part of the show.
Absolutely. Yeah, couldn't have said it better myself. Make sure you tune in this week and stay locked in on the Inside Edge Network with Chad, TK, and Ryan. They're going to get you ready with more coverage of the conference championship games. Like you said, maybe some Browns coaching search. We'll talk draft, all that great stuff. Make sure you follow Inside Edge Net so you stay locked in. Hit the bell so you know when we go live. Subscribe, follow, all that fun jazz. I'm Eli Moon. You can catch me Tuesdays Conversation with Eli Moon, 7 p.m. Real Talk with Pop Moon Saturdays at 5 p.m. I'm producing it behind the screen, so you don't see me, but I am there. I even made an appearance here or there. Main event Sunday evenings. We'll be recapping all the conference championship action. So Chad will get you, Chad, TK, and Ryan will get you ready before the game, and we'll get you ready after they're all done, and we'll recap everything after. And with that being said, with all those shows you can find us at, you can also find us here together on the Thursday topics. Yes. We'll be back next Thursday. We'll see what the sports world has for us. Until then, I just want to say once again, thank you so much to everybody out there. Snowstorm coming in Ohio, so grab your stuff. Get ready for snow. If you're enjoying a West Coast state, send some sunshine over here. For Chad Bryan to the right of me, to the left of you, I'm Eli Moon. This is Thursday Topics here on the Inside Edge Network. And until next Thursday, have a great rest of your night. And let's start that weekend off strong. See you guys.